Hi, this is Anthony from Evotech Pacific. I just wanted to do a short video today for all those new Countersketch International clients, particularly those who've had some issues with exporting their files to their existing design and model service bureaus. We've heard some fairly outrageous claims from some of those design service bureaus and model service bureaus over the past few weeks, or pretty much since Countersketch International has been released. There's probably a pretty good reason for it, because you're now controlling your designs. They want to, obviously continue getting some form of income from you, and so hence the reason these particular claims are being made. What I wanted to do was bring out a couple of models and bring them into Matrix and show you exactly what's involved in the readiness to create these models. Okay, so first of all, we're going to go to the engagement ring section. I want to go down to the styles, and I'm going to select a vintage style. I'm going to select this guy here. And as you can see with this particular piece here, we've got quite a busy looking piece, pretty much encrusted in diamonds, which is a really good example to show. You can also see that we have these claws holding the center stone in, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to my order button, and we're going to export this particular piece. So once it's finished calculating the metal weight there, then we'll move on to actually selecting the particular options that we want in order to export this piece out. So we're going to click on the Export STL 3DM button. The window that comes up is going to give us all of our options here. So I'm going to select Extend Prongs. That's going to be pretty important. So it's going to prepare the design there. And when we just move the design around a little bit, you can see that what it's done is extended all of these prongs around these small stones here, which is obviously fairly important. You want a little bit of meat there when it comes to setting all of those small stones. But what it hasn't done is it hasn't actually extended these claws around the center stone, and that's pretty important. The reason that it hasn't done that is it sees these particular areas here as actually part of the ring, not claws themselves. So this is a perfect example of when you'd need to go into a software program like Matrix and extend these manually, which is what we're going to do now. We're also going to select all of our stone options, so we want to check all of these boxes here. And for this particular option, I'm going to select the 3DM option because we are going to be doing a little bit more work to it than what we would normally do. Once we hit browse, we're going to browse where we want the file to go to, and we're going to hit export from there. Now that we've opened up Matrix, you can see that our file is here, all ready to go. What we're going to do first is we're going to make sure that the ring itself is ready to be booleaned together. Now, a boolean operation is when you cut or join or get the intersecting pieces of any particular two or more poly surfaces, and that's what these are here. When we click on each one of these, we can see that they're all individual, and this is very indicative of what happens when you export a 3DM file. The reason it's really quite handy is that if you need to do some modifications to this particular file, it's much easier to do that to a 3DM file rather than an STL. And STL is generally speaking going to be one mesh, and you can't really do a lot with a mesh. Your options are really quite limited. So what we're going to do first is we're going to turn off all of those gems, and we're going to have a look at what the actual file is. So if we select all of these guys here and pop them into the object window, we're going to get this window here saying some of the objects are not valid. So we need to kind of have a look at that and see what's going on there. I'm going to go to the Utilities menu and select Show Edges, and we can see here that we've got some naked edges. Nothing really unusual with 3DM files. Most files do have those at some stage or another. So to fix those, it's really pretty easy. We're going to hit Join Two Naked Edges and just select the edges here. Alright, this here is just a shading anomaly, so we can just select all of that, hit explode, and then hit join again, and that's all good to go. So now when we put those in there, we're going to get the green tick of approval, which is great. The next thing we want to do is we want to make sure that these are all joined together. So we're going to, first of all, move across to our Boolean difference, Boolean union. We're going to select, say, those two there, put them into that object window, and we're going to select these four here into that object window, one by one, force Boolean and Boolean those all together. Okay, so once that operation has finished, which took about a minute, that's all one solid piece ready to go. Let's bring back all of our prongs and our claws. First thing we need to do is that when we bring back that center stone, we can see that we've got to extend these claws up a little bit. So we're going to select each one of those, and we can see here that they are not capped. So we're going to cap those by going into solid, cap planar. Now that they're capped, we're going to go into the appropriate window there, and we're going to go to a tool called transform, scale 1D, select an area, and just scale that up. So we're going to extend it up to however much meat that we really want on those claws there. So just going to take those down just a touch. Next thing we do is we're going to join all of those particular pieces to the dark green pieces there. So again, we're going to select all of those pieces and pop them into object window 2, the dark green section there into object window 1, and hit do Boolean. And this is an operation that should take around 4 or 5 minutes, depending on the speed of your computer. My computer's pretty old by today's standards, so it should take about 5 minutes, but a newer processor might only take maybe 2 or 3. Okay, so that's all completed. That took about 4.5 minutes to do. Now let's just say we wanted to cut all of the seats for those gemstones. Again, it's just a case of selecting the gems, going to the gem cutter, selecting the gem cutter that we want, and then Boolean differencing those cutters away. From this guy here, and then we'll have our finished piece, which will look like that. I also managed to put in an under bezel there, just for a little bit more stability there, but when we hide those gemstones, you can see here that everything's all cut out, ready to be accepted for our gems. The total amount of time that particular piece took was about 12 minutes. Once we had Booleaned everything together and Boolean differenced all of those cutters away. Certainly not worth $80 in my opinion, but you know, you pay what you like. We do hold a model service bureau. We include a lot of that kind of procedure as part of the service. Our models cost $44 including GST. If it's something like a major modification to the piece, then we'll always give you a quote beforehand, and then you can determine whether you wanted to go ahead. I hope that helps.